Thanks for watching Esports Monies. Subscribe and enable notifications with the bell icon so you don't miss any of this questionable content.
And if you hit the like button, I'll probably get more views or something, so go on and do that too, I guess. Nice. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Esports Monies, ESM, MAC10, whatever you want to call me, and welcome to my guide to jungling in Dota 2 Turbo Mode. I want to emphasize it is Turbo Mode only, or at least 90+% Turbo Mode in this guide. Please look at the video title. It says Turbo Mode in the title. Please don't dislike my video into oblivion because you thought it was for the regular game mode. I'm not trying to trick you. This is for Turbo Mode, though some things are applicable to a normal game. So there's a few things I want to go over. First, I'm going to go over the raw mechanics of jungling and what you need to do differently from, or what you need to do in general. So this one is actually a little bit applicable to regular games, but a little bit less so because jungling is a much shorter stage in this game, and jungling fundamentally is different from jungling in the regular game for two reasons. The first reason being is that you have an invulnerable courier that's yours alone, because it looks like you only have one. You actually have an infinite number, up to 5 couriers, that will bring your items at any point in time. And it's just like, it's not even like technically a model, like it just brings your item and then just disappears. Like that's the animation of a rocket flare moving across the map, like a clockwork rocket flare. So in less than 20 seconds, I want to say like probably around 10 seconds, you can get a salad at any point in time, which means you're not as concerned with defensive abilities when you're jungling in turbo compared to the regular jungle. There are two things that can make a hero good at jungling. One of them is being really hard to kill by neutrals, and the other one is being able to kill neutrals really quickly. This means that the heroes that are able to kill neutrals really quickly, even though they might take a lot of damage from the neutrals, are favorable in turbo mode because you can get salved at any point in time. The other reason is because creeps spawn at 0 and 30, and jungle creeps don't start. The neutrals don't spawn until 1 minute now. They used to spawn at 30, now they spawn at 1 minute. There's 2 waves of experience that your lanes are going to have that you do not. And because they have that experience and you don't, this means that they're going to get exponentially farther apart from you. And the reason being is because death cooldown timers are also cut down. So this means, if you didn't already know, when you die in Dota, the amount of gold you lose is based on how much you have relative to the enemy team and the people that killed you. It's a function based on that. And so everyone in the map is getting farmed way faster than normal, at a rate faster than you, because they have this initial burst of 2 waves that you don't get to be a part of unless you poach on a lane, which you don't really want to do unless you're getting a kill. And because death timers are shorter, there's the potential for more of these kills to happen. So kills are worth a lot more, like more than twice as much, and they can happen twice as often. So in most situations, you're going to be farther behind than in a regular. There's going to be a bigger gap between you and the lanes than normal. Normally, you can actually keep up with or beat the safe lane and the off lane. In the last patch, you could, but in this patch, you will not. You will be behind. Your gold will be close. Your experience won't be. So as far as mechanics, those are the 2 things that really separate the jungle from turbo mode and a regular game. And I know I always sound the same when I say turbo mode, just deal with it. So as far as mechanics go, if you are a ranged hero on the Radiant side, you're going to immediately go to this rune, and you're going to be part of that skirmish. Then hopefully you're going to get over here by around 10 seconds past the minute. Starting at 10 seconds, you're going to cut down this tree, and then these 3 trees. This tree is optional. This tree is actually optional, but the reason I say cut this one down first is when you see it grow back, you'll know that you need to be prepared to use a quelling blade to cut down those trees really, really quickly. And yes, you're using a ranged hero with a quelling blade because it's really important that you can always cut down trees. And when you see this tree, or whatever tree you cut down first, grow back, it's your warning, because you have a 4-second cooldown on quelling blade, and you really don't want that to not be on cooldown once the trees start regrowing, unless you messed up and cut them really far apart when you originally cut them down. And the reason being is because it interrupts your vision of this low ground, and so with Nature's Prophet it doesn't matter, because you can destroy trees with spells, and you have these summon units, and with a lot of junglers you have summon units, but if you have summon units with those junglers, you don't need to cliff jungle anyway. A Huskar or a Medusa can't see this area unless they have a ward down here, which would have to be, it's not actually letting me see the spawn camps, but it would have to be over here, which is completely impractical. It's not going to protect you from anything. This one kind of can, but so you're going to need to keep these trees down. Over here, you can put up a ward and you can get the vision of this camp, mostly, but you're still going to have to cut down these trees. And I usually don't put down a ward here. You cut down 1, 2, 3, 4 trees here, and then 1 tree here, and then you have enough to maintain aggro once you start it. And then if you cut down 2 more trees, then you can actually 3 more trees. Then with these 3 down plus this initial chunk, you have enough range that you can actually grab aggro. You can attack anything, no matter what pattern it spawns in, and force it to come to you. With Medusa was the hero I tested it with, but there was another hero that I did before that had shorter attack range that could actually do it just as well as she could. So that's the rule. It seems like a lot of trees, but the thing to remember is when you come over here and start cutting these down, you can actually start kiting units and start attacking them and running up to the high ground and jumping around, juking around the trees while you're waiting on your Quelling Blade to be off cooldown. So you can fight while constantly spamming down the trees. Either way, it's important to remember those trees. So that is how you jungle. These are the camps that you're going to be focused on if you're a ranged hero on the Radiant side. If you're a melee hero on the Radiant side, and again, I'm mostly talking non-traditional junglers here, so like Nature's Prophet can actually come kill this camp if he wants to, but like Medusa's not going to want to, because Medusa's just going to die. So if you're a melee hero on the Radiant side, you're going to come over and cut this exact tree down. You're going to use that as a choke point, and you're going to want to actually back up to as far north as possible while you're still between these 2 trees, because this is a slightly narrower choke than this. In some instances, 2 units can attack you at once right here. In almost no instances can 2 units attack you at once if you're right here. Then you're going to come over and you're going to farm this camp. The white tree, the very, very obviously different color tree, is a perfect choke. It's probably designed this way. Cut down that and grab aggro, and then the creeps will just make circles around you while you attack them, and you'll only be attacked by 1 unit. And 99% of heroes only attack 1 unit at a time anyway, so why would you want to be hit by more than 1? You guys know what I'm talking about. So if you're a ranged hero on the Dire, you're going to cut down these 2 trees. I think he cut 1 down? No, he didn't. So this tree, and then these 2 trees, and then you can just jungle this camp indefinitely. It's a medium camp. This camp used to be a hard camp, but it's medium now, and if you stand right here, look at the angle that you have. All you need to do is cut down these 4 trees, and you have 5 trees, sorry. Yeah, 5 trees. If you cut down these 5 trees, you have more than enough vision to always be able to see this camp, and because there's no trolls, because it's not a hard camp anymore, you can always attack it and kill it. So very, very simple to be a ranged jungler on this side, or to be ranged or melee on this side. If you're melee on Dire, I could go into the specifics of why it's difficult, but just to save time in this guide, I'm just going to say don't do it. If you're a non-traditional jungler, so like let's say you're an anti-mage and you want to jungle, don't do it on the Dire side. You probably shouldn't be doing it anyway, because he's not, the jungle's just nerfed every patch. The jungle's been nerfed pretty much every single patch for the last several years, except some patches which have been nerfs to some heroes and buffs to others. But in general, the jungle has been nerfed consistently. So if you're a melee hero on the Dire side that's not designed to jungle, don't do it, because you're probably going to mess up. That being said, you can if you really want to, but you're going to end up spending so much money on salves that it's not going to be worthwhile, and you're going to have to stack stout shields. That's another thing. If you're a ranged hero, regardless of what you're doing, if you're in the jungle, you need a Quelling Blade. Period. The end. You need a Quelling Blade. You absolutely have to have a Quelling Blade, unless you are a traditional jungler that does not need to cut down trees, and you're ranged. If you're a traditional jungler that doesn't need to cut down trees, but is melee, you're going to get Quelling Blade anyway, because the damage bonus is too big to turn down. So that's pretty much it for ranged in terms of itemization. Just a Quelling Blade, and then whatever suits your fancy. Some heroes like Nature's Prophet and Enigma, you're definitely going to need 1 or 2 clarities. In turbo mode, 2 clarities is overkill. This was a useless item. And you're also going to want a stout shield on every single melee jungler. Pretty much ever. It's going to be nice to have. There's some heroes that don't really require it, like Wraith King, but all the non-traditional junglers require at least 1 stout. Some of them, it's better to have 2 stouts. Some of them, it's better to have 1 stout and 1 ring of protection. But those are all topics for individual hero guides that I will be doing at a later point in time. So that's the raw mechanics. Things to remember when you're jungling. So because I kind of talked about this at the start of the video, because the lanes are ahead of you by default, and because kills are worth so much more in this mode than in a normal game, the gap between you and the lanes is going to, like normally with a traditional jungler, there's not much gap between the lanes and you. You just have safe farm, you have easy farm, and the lanes are a little bit weaker, they get a little more experience because you're not there as long as they're not feeding. It's not the case in turbo mode, even with traditional junglers like Nature's. So I'll be the first to say I did not play my best this game. I probably could have had at least one more camp down by now, and that would have put me a good way into level 5. That would have given me a good bit more gold. But I'm at 2,300 net worth right now, and I'm going to teleport mid. Again, about to hit level 5, so I should be level 5 really if I knew what I was doing. But this Storm is level 7, and my Zeus is level 9. I am way underfarmed compared to them, and if I only focus on killing neutrals, then that gap will get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the rate at which that gap grows can change based on what hero you're playing as. Like anti-mage, that gap's not going to be that big once you get... The gap might actually close a bit once you get Battle Fury, because you can kill camps so quickly. But Nature's Prophet doesn't kill camps that much more quickly by having a lot of trees. He just is safer at doing it. So I'm not going to be able to close the distance very well with the hero as the game progresses. That being said, my net worth is okay. 2360 is not bad. Also, you realistically can add 50 or 100 to that because I just invested 15 or more seconds into coming here, trying to gank that, doing damage to the tower, and not damaging Storm. So I should be outpacing my Drow. I might actually be outpacing the Jug. But the scary part of this is in experience per minute, I am 3rd from the bottom. And in fact, for levels, I am tied for the lowest level in the game. So I actually just clicked on Nature's now. I'm actually still level 4. I am tied for the lowest level in the game. So that's something to think about, and that gap is only going to get worse as the game goes on. When you are a traditional hero that's jungling in Dota, if you watch my videos, you probably jungle a lot, and so you probably are familiar with this feeling you get about 7 to 8 minutes in where you start to feel really anxious. And that anxiety is not because you think you're going to get ganked, it's what do I have to show for the fact that I've been gone from the game for 8 minutes? Or mostly gone from the game for 8 minutes? And does it justify me being gone? And in turbo mode, 4 minutes is 8 minutes, really 3 and a couple seconds is... Like 3:15 is probably equivalent to 8 minutes. It's a very long time to be in the jungle, and you're not going to get as much done as the lanes get done just because of math. So because of this, when you jungle a hero in turbo mode, you need to be focusing on one of two things. You need to be focusing on something like this Phase Boots Blightstone Windlace build, which gives me a good bit of damage, it makes me a good bit harder to kill, gives me a lot of mobility, lets me kill towers really easily. You need to be focusing on something that's going to let you kill towers, specifically towers more so than heroes, because towers are really weak in this mode. Your tier 1 has a quarter less health than in a normal game, and it has 12 armor instead of 14, and your tier 2 and tier 3s have 14 armor instead of 17. And it's a pretty noticeable difference. Also, remember, in all situations, tier 1s do not have backdoor protection, and you should be killing tier 1s as soon as possible anyway, even if there's no aggression going on those towers, because you can backdoor them, and because every time you kill them, you reset the glyph. So you want to get them out of the way early so that you don't have to deal with your push getting delayed because you waited to kill this tower for a long time before you push into this tower. So, kind of a tangent, but very important to remember. The other thing that you're thinking about doing if you're in the jungle and you're in turbo mode is you're looking for an item that's going to accelerate your farm big time, like a Battle Fury. We're not talking Midas. You don't buy Midas. You do not buy Midas in this mode in 99% of situations. And the 1% of situations is if there's some reason why you really believe the game's going to go longer than usual, and the hero also has a gold per minute talent or an experience per minute talent that happens pretty early on, and you need to rush yourself to get there. Midas gives you twice as much as it normally does, which means it pays you back twice as fast as it normally does, but the average length of a game of Turbo Dota is less than half of the average length of a game of normal Dota, at least in my experience. It's I don't actually have stats on that, but in my experience, it's not just less, it's noticeably less. And you need to not only have enough time for the Midas to pay back, but you need to have enough time for the Midas to actually buy you stuff above and beyond the Midas, or else you're paying a lot of gold for only an experience gain, and that experience gain isn't worth, it's not worth that much. It's really not worth that much, and if you got an item that led to a kill, remember, kills are worth more than twice as much, and that Midas is going to be flat double value the whole time through, and kills are going to be a minimum of double value. So that's why you don't go Midas in this mode. Mask of Madness is not a bad choice, but Battle Fury is really the killer here. The reason Battle Fury is the killer is it can accelerate your farm, and because you get the Battle Fury X minutes faster, you actually have this weird curve instead of just a line that's higher than the other line of your farm from a normal game. You have a curve. You have this exponential growth because you get everything faster, and the rate at which you gain gold changes based on your current farm. So you're either going for Battle Fury or some other big boy farming item, not Midas, which is very situational. In fact, it's so situational I can't actually think of an example off the top of my head unless you have some hero, maybe PA, but still that's like probably going to be, it's probably going to be a while. And that's kind of a coin flip, because if you have a Battle Fury sub 10 minutes in turbo mode with PA, then you can get super farm super quickly. And if the game's not over by 15 minutes and you just AFK jungle with PA for 15 minutes, you'll probably be so fat that you can just show up and kill everyone and win and the game's over. But that's also like a coin flip, because there's a very good chance the game will be over. In fact, this game is over in 9 minutes and 53 seconds. So keep that in mind when you go for those big plays. But 99% of the time what you're going to be doing is going for items like this, these small, like this is actually a big item. This is actually a bigger item than you think just looking at a face value. That's a lot of movement speed, that's a lot of mobility because of the phasing, and that is a lot of damage. 24 damage is a huge amount right now. Blightstone, a lot of minus armor. Another 20 movement speed, also kind of a big deal, especially because I'm looking at drums later. So you're going to be building up these small items and using them to get kills and using them to get farm. I think the most important thing though is to get the tier 1s. Pushing it's always going to be my focus, and I think that's a little more, I think that's more up for debate than a lot of the things I say, because I'm so push oriented in the way that I look at the game. But I think killing the tier 1 specifically is much more important in Turbo Dota, because they don't just die a bit faster, they die a lot faster. Like the difference between the tier 2 in normal and turbo is 3 armor. The difference between the tier 1 in normal and turbo is 2 armor and a quarter of its health. Remember, it still doesn't have backdoor protection. So that's how I look at the game. That's how I focus on doing things from the jungle in turbo mode. I know I didn't actually press the play button too much during this video, but hopefully that's not a big deal. I try to keep the background noise pretty low in my room. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and made it to the end where I'm talking now, leave me a comment and tell me that you did. I'm just curious, because I feel like I'm going to get a very small number of views on this guide, but the people that will watch this all the way through will be very much engaged. And you guys will either think this is awesome, or you'll have questions and then you'll think it's awesome, or you guys will teach me something. So it's kind of a win-win regardless of how you look at it. Or it will be one of my more popular videos and it'll get like 90% dislikes because people will just be like, noob profit. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys later.